Nathaniel Hawthorne, one of America's greatest writers. Nathaniel Hawthorne Jr. was born to the parents of Elizabeth Clark Manning Hawthorne and Nathaniel Hawthorne Sr. on July 4, 1804 in Salem, Massachusetts. When Nathaniel was 4 years old, his father, a sea captain, had passed away due to yellow fever. Nathaniel, his 2 sisters, and his grief-stricken mother soon moved out from his birthplace and into his mother's home. Nathaniel's family lived there for 10 years. When he played bat and ball when he was younger, he injured his leg and was bedridden for a year. During his injury, he was tutored by Joseph Worcester, and once he became better, he attended a new schoolhouse in 1810. Throughout his school years before college, Nathaniel was tutored by Benjamin Oliver. Nathaniel Hawthorne soon attended Bowdoin College in 1821 and had lots of friends, such as the future President Franklin Pierce, future Congressman Jonathan Seeley, future naval reformer Horatio Bridge, and the future poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Nathaniel and his friends would rebel against the university's rules and regulations. He wrote a letter to his mother saying, "If I am again detected, I shall have the honor of being suspended." When he was in his 20s, he added a W to his last name, so it seemed that he wasn't related to John Hawthorne, his great-great-grandfather who was a judge in the Salem witch trials. His family felt that they've been cursed ever since they're connected to the horrible event by their last name. Much of Hawthorne's pieces later in his life shows of his shame of his connection to the Puritans. He graduated Bowdoin College on September 7, 1825. Once he graduated, he wrote and published his first piece called Fanshawe in 1828, and that was based on his college life. Soon, he realized it wasn't as popular as he thought. He immediately called his piece amateurish and went to salvage his writings from the public. During the Transcendentalist movement, he became friends with Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau. The reason Hawthorne wasn't classified as a transcendentalist because he was mostly focused on storytelling than Emerson, Thoreau, or Walt Whitman. Also, Hawthorne had a darker view of the human nature, saying that people are inherently self-seeking. This makes his assume that the world is relatively a bad place. Nathaniel Hawthorne thought that he would be a bachelor for most of his life, until he met Sophia Peabody, who was a painter and an illustrator during the Transcendentalist times in 1837. Soon they were engaged on New Year's Eve in 1839 and had their ceremony at the Peabody Parlor on July 9, 1842. Nathaniel wrote about Sophia, stating that she is in the strictest sense my sole companion. There is no vacancy in my mind, any more than in my heart. Soon they had 3 children. Una, who was born in March of 1884, Julian, who was born in June 1846, and Rose, born in May of 1851. Hawthorne had a hard time earning money as a writer, so he had held a lot of government-related jobs, such as a surveyor for the District of Salem and Beverly, and the inspector for the Port of Salem in 1846. During this time, He had difficulty writing. He stated once, "I am trying to resume my pen. Whenever I sit alone or walk alone, I find myself dreaming about stories as of old. I should be happier if I could write." Soon Hawthorne's luck began to change when he written and published The Scarlet Letter in March of 1850, which was set in the Puritan times and dealt with the consequences of characters who violated the community's moralities. Hawthorne worked on it with a determination he had never had for any novel he produced. Sophia's comments to The Scarlet Letter were that it broke her heart and sent her to bed with a grievous headache, which I looked upon as a triumphant success. Hawthorne was one of the first American writers to explore the hidden motivations of his characters. Hawthorne's works were written during the Romantic movement, and more specifically, dark romanticism, that revolved around evil and sin of humanity that have moral messages and psychological complexity. Soon more of Hawthorne's works came to the public, such as Young Goodman Brown, The House of Seven Gables, The Marble Fawn, Ethan Brand, The Birthmark, The Minister's Black Veil, and so much more. Unfortunately for Nathaniel Hawthorne, his health prevented him to create more romanticism pieces. Nathaniel passed away on May 19, 1864, in Plymouth, New Hampshire, when he was 59 years old. His friend Emerson wrote of the funeral, "I thought there was a tragic element in the event that might be more fully rendered in the painful solitude of the man, which I suppose could no longer be endured, and he died of it." His wife Sophia grieved over the death of her husband. Since she was unable to plan the funeral, her children Una and Julian took charge to arrange the memorial service. He was buried in the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery in Concord, Massachusetts. Several years after his passing, Sophia died of pneumonia in January of 1871. Her body was first buried at the Kensal Green Cemetery and was soon transported to be buried by her husband in the year 2006. Salem, Massachusetts, to this day, has created museums in honor to Nathaniel Hawthorne and his family, such as the Peabody Essex Museum, the House of Seven Gables Historic Site, the Salem Custom House, and the Salem Maritime National Historic Site. They also preserve Nathaniel's birthplace, which is located on 27th Hardy Street. Many visitors come down to his birthplace and relive his life and memories. To this day, Nathaniel Hawthorne will be known as one of the greatest American writers of all time.